I played Adam. I was the Black Ranger.
The best one.
Became green and then went back to black. Almost died once.
I'm Robert Axelrod. I did the voice of Vincent. What's that? My guy.
Did you do the voice for Overdrive?
I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, because I had to find your son.
He's son was doing that.
Your son was in it.
My son was doing that. No, I didn't do the voice. I did all of those voice. The movie or the TV. And the live show. Don't forget. Who saw the live show of the Power Rangers?
Really?
Yeah.
I saw it.
The live show was great.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I'm with the rest of you guys. Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions about Power Rangers, or should we go right into it?
I'm pretty sure we know everything. Well, then we're over. Thank you for coming. You got a
What
question?
iteration of Power Rangers were you in?
What was that?
What iteration of Power Rangers were you in?
What did you say?
Generations.
Generations. Okay. I was in Mighty Morphin, Zeo, Turbo. I did an episode of Space.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I came back for the 50th anniversary of Overdrive. And then the 2 films that were in the theater.
That's playing in the other room.
Yeah, and it's shocking
gotta
over
ask
there.
him.
I should have. I should have. Absolutely.
Both of y'all did a good job.
No, I didn't.
Why don't you tell the fans here how you got into the Power Rangers? What you have to do?
Is that something
what's
you
the
guys want to hear?
events leading
Sure.
All right. So I was living in Texas, and I'm a martial artist, and so I studied Shaolin Kung Fu. But at the time, that was the main style that I studied, and it's still kind of my main foundation. But so I'm studying Shaolin Kung Fu. It's like Saturday, and my instructor, my master, is like reading the newspaper, and he sees in the newspaper that they're looking for like some rangers. You know, and it's got like the rangers standing there posing or whatever. He calls me over and he's like, "Johnny, I think you should go and audition." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "It's cool. I've seen it a couple times and I think I can do it, but I don't know." And he's like, "I think we should put something together, flip, kick, whatever, and then see what happens." And so he helped me come up with a little routine or whatever, martial arts demonstration. And then I went. Actually, I told my friends, I was like, "Dude, I'm going to go to this audition." It's the first audition gig that I ever went to, and so I really didn't know what to expect. It was kind of scary, actually. So I talked to my friends. I was like, "Hey, man, you guys want to go? There's an audition for Power Rangers. Maybe you can make it and be on TV." And all of them but one were like, "Dude, what are you kidding? We live in Texas. Acting, forget about it. Think of something else because you're not going to." And I was like, "Dude, no way, man. Maybe it can happen." And they're like, "Okay, whatever." And one guy, though, was like, "You know what? I'll go with you." And then he was a white guy who thought he could break dance. Wasn't any good. But I wasn't going to tell him. I was like, "Yeah, maybe you can make it." And so we go there, and then we go to this where they're casting. And they were casting all over the place. But Dallas was one of the areas. Yeah, I knew that they were doing it nationwide. But when we got there, there's like, you know, kind of like the line that's out there. It's like a ton of people just in line, right? And the majority of people were like in like martial arts gis and had their black belts and whatever. And I saw a few people doing martial arts stuff in the hallways and outside. I saw Steve Cardenas doing kicks in the air, like kicking a bunch of times in the air, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man." I'm not gonna do that though. And I remember we go in there, and first they kind of like brought in like, I think it's like maybe 20 people at a time, right? And then they would just line you up against a wall, and then they go, "Okay, you, and you, stick around. The rest of you go home." And it was just like that. And so it was just on looks. At first, the first was just looks. And so I made it through. My friend made it through, and then we were like, "Yeah, woo!" And then we had the next thing was like to come back and do some martial arts stuff or dance or which he was going to break dance, and then gymnastic stuff if he had that. So it's like those are 3 things that you needed to know athletic wise. So I went in, did my thing, and And then I was waiting outside for my friend to come out, you know, because he was in there. And then he came out all bummed like this. And I was like, dude, man, I was doing the windmill and I fell on my back. So I tried to roll over and do the worm. And she's just like, no, thank you, sir. Thank you, that's enough. And I was like, dude, that sucks. And I was like, but I made it through. And then they gave me like a little monologue, like a little thing to read, right? And it was like a real small thing. So I like went to the mall while I waited. I had like an hour, so I read it and memorized it and I had it down. So I went back. And actually, I went home first and I changed it. And at this time, this was, you know, like 93 or something like that. And it was cool to have like tight jeans, especially tight jeans. And so I went back home and I changed out of my martial arts stuff into like tight jeans. And came back to read the monologue, and I did the monologue, and they were like, okay, great. You know, can we see that stuff that you did? That, what was it, Kung Fu or whatever? And I was like, yeah. And I was thinking, I was like, oh crap, man, I can't kick in these jeans. I mean, and then seriously, I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And I started doing it, and seriously, my kicks were like this. I'm like, and like, yeah, I was just like, dude, this sucks, man. I look like an idiot. And so I just kept looking at the lady, that main lady, and I was smiling. I was like, you know, just trying to, trying to like get a connection here. Yeah. And they're like, thank you. And I was like, okay, all right. So I left, and then that was it for like 2 weeks. I didn't know anything. I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to college. Literally, I went to college and started registering, and I'm in the dorm room or whatever. I'm laying in bed, and my whatever dorm roommate or whatever was like sitting over there complaining about the world, and I'm laying there and I'm like, dude, this is stupid. Kill this guy. I can't be here. This doesn't feel right. And then I get a phone call. It's my brother. He's like, dude, they want you to go and audition in California. I was like, what? Serious? I was like, I will kill you if you're lying. He's like, no, seriously. So they flew me out to California. And then, again, there's like a line of kids. But this time it was, I was noticing, like, there's like all these, like a line of like Hispanics and a line of like Asians where I kind of fit in. And then there's a line of, there's a couple different, like the girls, okay? I didn't really pay much attention to that side because I was just like, whatever. This is all I really need to worry about is all the Asian guys. So I remember we just went in there and eventually just through the process or whatever, they narrowed it down to Steve, myself, and Karen Ashley. And we're sitting there in front of Saban and his panel of people. And he's like, you're gonna make me millions. You're gonna make me millions of dollars. I was like, wow. Cool. And I'm thinking, maybe I'll get some of that, you know? And he's like, and you'll make some money. I was like, oh. But I was thinking, you know, I worked at Subway before this, so it can't be worse than that, right? He's like, are you okay with that? I'm like, yeah. Sandwiches, I'm cool with that. I was like, okay. And so I put this contract down that was like the phone book, and I signed it without really knowing what it was. And that's how it started. And next thing you know, I just stayed there in California, and I've been there since. So, how did you, how'd you become well, you started in voice acting.
Yeah, I was in voice acting, and as I was mentioning in my other panel, I actually was destined to do voice acting. When I was 19, I was living in New York City. I was born and raised in New York City. When I was 19, I decided to go to night school. I was going to college, and during the day, knock on doors and see what kind of trouble I could get into. And
you just knock on people's doors?
at those